All right, ladies and gentlemen, it's time for us to have a bit of a conversation today. And the conversation today is going to be about astroturfing. It's going to be about Hoyo shills. It's going to be about people that decide that what they wanted to do with their day was pretend that they play a game online and then go cause some trouble, cause a bit of havoc, cause some misinformation to be spread in YouTube comment sections and just communities across the internet. And so we've got a post over here that was recently made within the last 2 days on the comment sections of one of my videos. And you might be thinking, oh, Saint, look at you just responding to one comment over here. Even though it is quite a long one that clearly took a long time to write, you're just getting one guide. And so this is the circumstance over here that I just want to get straight for everybody before we dive right on into this. I saw this post. I saw how long it was. I saw the examples that were being given, and I saw the argumentation being made. And all I could think was, holy shit. I am going to farm the fuck out of this guy. Oh my goodness. It is going to be so funny making content, unveiling what exactly is going on over here. And my policy is when it comes to one guys, when it comes to getting, ooh, he got triggered by a comment. If you're making a video on it, if you're farming it, if you're monetizing it, who cares? And that is what we're going to be doing today, ladies and gentlemen. So just for some evidence, just for some proof, the video that this commented on is on, you can clearly see it in the background over here. It's on this video called Genshin's Quality of Life is Embarrassing, right? We're talking about how Genshin Impact basically fails as a company to go ahead and actually make changes that are good for all players. The most recent set of quality of life they added was unlocking the weekly talent materials if the character has just released on banner. But then that only lasts for 7 days out of the 21 days that they're on banner. So they've added FOMO to the quality of life. And I said, yeah, that's some pretty dumb shit, right? You can even see in the thumbnail over here, the worst quality of life in gacha. So with that in mind, let's go back to the comment and talk a little bit about what is going on over here. Not deleted, not modified in any way. Let's go ahead, let's break it all down and see exactly what is going on over here. Dear Saint, I would like to understand why you are so bold talking about all obvious Hoyo misconducts. Half of your content being on the issues of Hoyo games. So this is basically just the situation over here. If you're still under the impression that, and this is we'll just address this piece by piece. If you're still under the impression that all I make is actually Hoyoverse content, then I have something very, very sorry to say to you. You might not know how to read, or you might be visually impaired. Because yes, I make content on big gacha games, but to give the statistic right off the bat that 50% of my content is on Hoyoverse games would imply that there is something disabled going on with like what's being wired up here. I could go through, I could count all the videos, but if you can send me proof that I have over, let's just see over here, over 470 videos on Genshin Impact, Zenless Zone Zero, Honkai Star Rail, you can add them all up. If I have more than 470 videos on those games, then I will eat my words. But if I have less than 470 videos, then maybe this conversation can just end where it started. Or it can end where it should have ended, in the mind of whoever was making this comment. So with that said, let's go ahead and move on. Yet when it's time to apply the same level of criticism to Wuwa, you weirdly seem to turn a blind eye and only focus on some negligible details like minor kit issues, characters being niche, Redditor CC drama. Why are you not talking about the real issues? You can clearly see what's going on over here, right? They are immediately going ahead and trying to delegitimize the content that I create, the content that's on my channel, by framing it as I don't talk about the big issues. Yes, Saint might go ahead and critique Kuro games sometimes, but whenever he does, he's just faking it to make it seem like he critiques all games. He doesn't actually talk about the meaningful problems that are in the game, and, you know, he's just farming toxic positivity that way. So that is definitely a claim to make, right? And if true, it would definitely be something that could meaningfully delegitimize the point of views that I'm making. I wouldn't even disagree with that. However, that actually has to be taking place. I actually have to be ignoring things, and I have to be somebody that is, in this sense, actually turning a blind eye to the issues that are being pointed out. So let's go ahead. Let's read out the examples. Let's take a look at them and see where I've been ignoring the big problems. Nightmare Nest time gating. New set farming with no tacit field alternative. So the take over here is that I haven't talked about the issues that are present with the Nightmare purification fields. You might have noticed, wait, Saint, I've been looking at some of your content recently. You're like on this page all the time and you're always bitching and moaning about it. Yes, that's actually true, because these Nightmare Tacit Discords, right? They spawn only 36 times a day. They refresh every day, but you can't, spend your wayplates on here. You can do it once for free, and then you get to the point, right, where you can't farm anymore in a day, and you gotta wait for the next one. So it's way more time-gated than any other way we've had to farm echoes before. This was introduced in patch 2.5 with Frolova, right, and her set. And you would have noticed, well, if you're an actual viewer of mine and not somebody that's faking concern trolling, as they used to call it back in the day, you would have noticed that I released this video right after Frolova released. And you'll actually notice over here, I have the menu where it shows the Nightmare Tacit Discords. And, well, only Frolova's is there. And why don't you hear a little bit about what I say in regards to these? You cannot give her signature forecast without completing the quest. To unlock the Nightmare Hecate for farming, you have to complete the entire quest to farm her gear. That's how upset I am about you needing to do Hecate, or Hecate being unlocked at the end of 2.5's quest. Let's hear what I say about the Nightmare Tacit fields. You can't even build her level-wise, and you can't even build her forecast echo. But that's not it. It actually turns out that farming her echo is also a goddamn nightmare. I thought that this Nightmare Tacit Discords feature was gonna be great, because you'd be able to farm a shit ton of echoes every day. It turns out you can only challenge 36 of them, and they're subject to regular echo drop rates. Yeah, I thought you were guaranteed a drop every single time you killed one of these echoes. You're not. You're actually not. They're subject to the normal drop rates, and so as a result, you have to know beforehand that you actually need to eat sweet and sour pork. So you can see over here, negative title. I'm basically talking shit about the entire structure of how all of this system is set up. You can see just how long I'm on here, basically just bitching and moaning, complaining, pointing out the problems of the Nightmare system for about... Let's just be honest here. It's about 6 or 7 minutes of me talking about how shit the system is for Nightmare Nests right after they got released into the game. I could clearly play more. There's actually multiple videos where I've critiqued Nightmare Nests. I actually critique them at pretty much every single opportunity that they show up, even during the 2.6 live stream, where naturally, right, 2 more Nightmare Nests were introduced in this patch. Yeah, I've been around the block, and I pretty much said everything that there is to say in regards to why those are messed up. That's already one example of where, clearly, right, we're just making shit up. Let's keep on moving. Extremely niche meta, ruining team diversity. This is a video that I uploaded 1 month ago as well, called Elemental Debuffs Are a Massive Problem, which is encompassing the teams that are created and the teams that you can run when you match together the niche character kits with the niche character kits. You can see from the video that's playing on the screen, I'm going over characters. Well, we have like the whole screen. I'm going over characters like Phoebe. I'm going over characters like John Shin, and how I wish that they had air erosion built into their kit. All of these different things, right? I talk about where standard characters, where echoes can maybe like apply the debuff effects as well. Something to make the system a lot more accessible for players, because right now you gotta have limited 5-star characters to do anything with it. And yet we're just going ahead and we decided, because I didn't watch Saint's video, because I didn't go ahead, right? And I didn't see it with my own eyes, that video doesn't exist. Object permanence, ladies and gentlemen, is something that both astroturfers and 5-year-olds don't have. There's a reason why when there's an infant at home and then the parent leaves to go to work, the infant starts crying. It's because they think that their parent is gone forever. It's a similar situation going on over here. If I didn't see the video that Saint clearly made a month ago, that video doesn't exist. And unfortunately, it doesn't cost anything to post comments. It doesn't cost anything to astroturf. All it costs is your time. And the people that are making these types of comments, ladies and gentlemen, they have nothing but time. Because you know that these people are losers that have nothing meaningful to do with their lives, to go ahead and just run into a YouTube comment section and just lie for multiple paragraphs. Imagine the type of life you lead where that is an activity that you've decided to spend hours on. Because it's not that this guy made a comment. He watched the post and individually replied to every single response that was made to him. So believe me when I say this guy's got a lot of free time on his hands. And it's only a small example of the types of comments that I get in my comments section. Don't ever say Saint doesn't read his comments. I do. This is just more proof of it. Now, we got the next point. And it's so funny that these points are coming out in this order because it's almost like chronological to how I've been releasing my videos on these exact issues. Signatures getting more and more impactful and niche. Verlova's weapon is a massive problem. I guess at this point, it's almost like I struggle to reason as to how half of these are even being listed on here. When it's like in the title, you can already see what my stance is on the matter, let alone the thumbnail. Like, the thumbnail of these videos is almost exactly as, like, inflammatory as the title. You don't even have to watch my videos. All you have to see is that the title is there and the thumbnail is there. You just need to see that the video exists. You don't even need to click on it. And you would know that I've already covered these issues. But of course, ladies and gentlemen, this is a rather sophisticated level of unintelligence that we're working with over here. And a level of stupidity like this is so prevalent in YouTube comment sections. This is why I'm honestly thinking that the mental state of many content creators isn't as great as it could be. Because you have to deal with stupid kids like this on a daily basis. And so, if you think that I'm going ahead and I'm ignoring comments, I'm not reading them, it's because half of them look like this, brother. So let's go ahead. Let's, I mean, well, we can, do I even need to play part of this video? I don't think so. We're literally going ahead and testing out for Verlova across a bunch of different weapons. Yeah, okay. Yeah, I don't need to play. This one is self-explanatory. If you needed me to play this as an example, go f yourself. This is perhaps one of the most egregious ones on here. Weewa sudden massive HP inflation. Let me just look up a video for you real fast. Oh, we're not even going to have to click into it. Is Kuro the new Hoyo? Let me just put that in my search bar and let's see what comes up. Oh, shit. Oh, shit. Damn. Is Kuro the new Hoyo? So let me explain the title because I think the commenter might need the additional context. It's because Hoyoverse is the company that does 100% HP inflation in like 2 patches. I asked if Wuwa or Kuro was the new Hoyo because they had HP inflation in Wuthering Waves. And I even further clarified what I was talking about over here by putting in the thumbnail in perhaps some of the biggest letters you can put in the thumbnail. 114% HP inflation, and then right there, Wuthering Waves. Maybe this commenter is blind. I made sure to dictate everything as well. I am, yes, I'm all about accessibility. 114% HP inflation just right there is Kuro the new Hoyo. I don't think I need to play that video. Let's play part of it. It's time for us to talk about something very, very, very important for the future and, in my opinion, the healthy state of Wuthering Waves. Do I even need to say more? All we do in this video is talk about how bad the new Wuthering Waves is, go over new information from CN, and then go over how CN is also pissed off with the update as well. What are we doing here? And you want to know the best part about this? I made 3 videos on the matter. 2.5's Weewa reset is a disaster, and I think I got this video as well. What has Kuro done This is ridiculous. Another gameplay video showing off how the Wuthering Waves reset. So that's 3 videos on one reset talking about how predatory and bad it is. And yet we decided to say, Saint, you turn a blind eye and only focus on negligible issues. Are you beginning to see why now I said I was gonna farm the shit out of this post? Are you beginning to see now why I said, hey, as long as you farm a one guy, who really cares if you're getting one guy? This is a level of like cognitive dissonance that I feel like requires some level of recognition, some type of like award. It really looks like you're the one getting baited. Well, I'm also the one that's going to be monetizing this video. So sure, bait me all day. Bait me all day. I'll farm it all day too. We've tackled and taken a look at every single one of these issues. We've tackled and taken a look at all of the problems that have been listed out that have supposedly been turning a blind eye to. And naturally, right, you've seen that's just all the lie. Now, let's start taking a look at some stuff that I actually haven't necessarily addressed. And that's because, well, somebody is going ahead and making mountains out of molehills. And in that attempt to make mountains out of molehills, spreading even more misinformation. Character release rate and the number of banners per patch growing alarmingly. 2.5 had 1 new character called Frolova, and then 2.6 has 2 new characters. Maybe you would have an argument to make if Wuthering Waves was releasing 2 new characters every single patch, but they just don't do that. They don't release 2 new characters every patch. Who was the new character in 2.2? Just Cantarella. Who was the new character in version 2.5? Just for Lova. Almost every 3 patches, there's a patch with only like 1 new character coming out. And it's probably only going to be Chisa in 2.8. I don't really see what the issue is with the character release rate, especially when we also just got 20 random free pulls in 2.6. Yeah, the 20 free pulls that are coming, right, with Yuno's banner, that haven't showed up over here yet, yeah, those are going to be coming in 2.6. And I guess the one situation that they're talking about is, oh, we had a set of double reruns over here. Look, it's Shorekeeper and Carlotta. Yeah, you want to know what the situation is over here? Everyone can get a copy of Shorekeeper on the beginner voyage banner. And so I am 99% sure Shorekeeper is only on here because Kuro just listened to favors from the player base where people saw that beginners got Shorekeeper on their initial banner, and they were like, wait, we missed out on Shorekeeper. This is so predatory, and this sucks. And so they just put Shorekeeper again. You do realize this character just reran on 2.2? She's also available on the beginner banner. They're running her so often because she's the best generalist support in the game, and people are asking for her to come back because they don't have the pulls or they weren't playing when she released, and so they're just constantly rerunning her. You have access to her on the beginner banner. It's basically there so that everybody that wants her is guaranteed to have her, and they've done a good job of making one of the most desired units in the game so available. This is a non-concern. This rerun is a non-concern. If you see anybody complaining about it, it's basically a sign that they don't actually play the game. It's basically a sign that they don't know that the beginner banner exists. They don't know that she just reran, and they don't know like what the actual like banner history of the game has been. Because if you do, you'd understand this is like a non-factor completely. But of course, right, we're talking about astroturfers over here. We've clearly seen somebody over here making shit up, pretending that there are problems that exist, and well, always fun to do a little bit of disarming of those ridiculous arguments. Now, let's move on to this last one. And this one is going to be Mortefi's shadow nerf for Yuno's release. So there was recently a content creator for Honkai Star Rail called Gabby Maru. And what Gabby Maru does is he goes ahead and posts misinformation regarding Wuthering Waves leaks. And so his kind of like basis for his channel is taking pre-release details of WoWa and then going ahead, interpreting them incorrectly because they're all translated from CN, and then spreading misinformation about it to doom post the game. If you want like an example of what, well, I'll just show you his profile because naturally he covers leaks. This is the Gabby Maru that I'm talking about. Incorrectly, intentionally misinterprets leaks and goes ahead and then doom posts about them in his videos. That's like his thing because he has an HSR audience and HSR players are desperate to see any game that isn't HSR have negative PR because, well, HSR is a dog shit game. Anyways, let's talk about the actual nerf that these individuals are talking about. There was a set of bug fixes regarding Mortefi that I do believe were addressed in this patch. And this is the situation over here. Yes, Mortefi's liberation got adjusted. I'm going to be using a YouTube channel called Mormon's Videos to demonstrate for you all what this quote-unquote nerf actually is. So this is an example from 6 months ago of what Gion's liberation looked like with Mortefi. Let's just take a look at it. So you're seeing over here, right? Gion threw his spear down, and now you have about maybe 6 or 7 or maybe even 8 Marcados that fired off from Mortefi. Those are all the different red numbers that you see over here. This is the new liberation. You'll notice that only 2 Marcados showed up when Gion's liberation hit. 2 Marcados showed up over here, and in that prior clip that we just looked at, and we have about, let's just see, that's around 8 or 10. And so this is the situation that's going on right now. Mortefi's liberation was essentially bug fixed not to interact with multi-hit abilities. When it comes to Mortefi, whenever he has a character that he's supporting with his Marcado coordinated attacks, this is what's going on. When the active character's heavy attack hits the target, Mortefi launches a coordinated attack, firing 2 Marcados. Mortefi can launch one of these coordinated attacks every 0.35 seconds. Mortefi was originally bugged before, where he just fired off about 5 coordinated attacks, and it hasn't been 0.35 seconds between them. This is what you call a bug regarding the performance of the character, where Mortefi's coordinated attacks have a 0.35 second cooldown before they can fire, and he just fired off 5 of them with no cooldown. This is what you literally call the devs making a bug fix. Unfortunately, he was bugged since launch, and this is the situation over here. People are saying, oh, this is a shadow nerf because they're making his kit literally do what it says that it does. And this is also the other thing. You're missing out on effectively 8 Marcado attacks. A Marcado does 31% of Mortefi's attack. 32. And so 8 of these attacks is quite literally, you want to know how much damage it is? It's about 200 something percent damage from Mortefi. You're missing about 270% motion value from Mortefi's rotation. That's about a 1%, if not less, DPS loss on the entire team. Potentially 1% or less on the entire team. And you want to know why this is actually something that probably makes sense? Because this is the thing. The only reason why Gion's liberation is firing off multiple Marcado attacks is because, guys, all of this damage, you see this 142.91 times 2 plus 428.73, this all happens at once. It's one hit that happens to register multiple times. Gion's liberation nuke straight up just is like a singular attack. But it happens to have, you can see over here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 damage numbers. If anything, this is actually bugged. This isn't how the damage actually occurs. There are 5 different damage numbers that show up when he uses this one attack. And because there were 5 damage numbers, 5 Marcados were firing off. Which just, I'm gonna be real, guys, this doesn't even, make sense given what we just read from Mortefi's kit. And you want to know what this also does? This also limits the design space for future heavy attack liberations. Because now this is the thing. What if there's a character, I don't know, like a Chuyan or something like that, who's a heavy attacker? Everyone knows Chuyan's a heavy attacker, right? What if Chuyan had a big hit where it was a single slash? His tagline literally is 1 slash to end it all, right? He only does 1 slash. Instead of all these different ticks of damage, it's 1 slash that deals like 2,000%. It would be a nerf for Chuyan to simply have his attack deal 1 instance of damage. That's a big chunk of damage. Because if Mortefi's Marcado operated in the same way, then that would mean it would only fire off 2 Marcado attacks from one big motion value hit. And it would be better if that one hit was instead spread out and it was 10 hits of 100% damage versus one hit of 1000%. Because the 10 hits would fire off 20, would then fire off 20 Marcados instead of just one. Do you kind of see over here just how how a bug that, is honestly that insignificant in current practice can impact the design of kits in the future? Where now the devs have to think about, oh, we can't have the visual aesthetic. Like, we can't make any of these heavy attackers basically do the equivalent of a Jinsei nuke on their rotation. They can't shoot down the laser beam because that one big chunk of damage is going to be like a nerf compared to doing a bunch of little instances of damage. And I'm pretty sure that's why they made the change. And it makes a lot of sense. And when the end result is one Gion team losing 270% motion value on the entire team's rotation, what are we doing here? You get more damage from remembering to use an echo skill than the damage loss that you'll have from, I think this is 6 or 8 Marcados that are missing. Unbelievable how much this issue has been blown out of proportion. 270% motion value to future-proof the kit for new designs coming up, and people are freaking out like this. That's why I bring up this Gabby Maru guy in specifics, because that's where this misinformation is coming from. Because you had one guy Doom posting a 0.5% to 1% change in the team's overall damage, and they're absolutely losing their fucking marbles over it. Oh, wait, sorry. I need to specify who's losing their marbles. It's not actually Wuthering Waves players that are losing their marbles. It's people that are pretending to play Wuthering Waves. When you take a look at what points are being made over here, these are some of the line items that have been discussed in the Woo-Wah space, which somebody would be aware of if they weren't playing the game. This literally is the definition of an astroturfer. Now, let's keep reading even more, because now they're slinging out some crazy accusations, saying that we haven't done any of these things, or they've blown issues out of proportion. Let's read some more. It seems that you are nothing but a fraud. You only trash talk Hoyo to chase clout and further glaze Woo-Wah, instead of doing it out of fairness. Then you pretend to be fair about Woo-Wah by mainly talking about, that sounds like unconsensual, unconsequential issues. Well, you can clearly see over here, this is just fake. We've already proven demonstrably this person doesn't actually watch my content. They're making takes that they've heard echoed by other astroturfers in their communities, and they're just making shit up. They're just making all of this up. And this happens all the time. This is what happens in those secluded subreddits. This is what happens in those Twitter threads. People have no idea. They do no research, and they just create an echo chamber where they manufacture these narratives about content creators, about individuals, and then keep repeating them to each other until they've turned fiction into fact, at least on their end. And that's why I'm making this video, because this is actually a very common narrative that you'll see in Reddit's Twitter threads. You'll see it everywhere, that I never critique the game, that I never talk about the issues. And so why not take the opportunity right now to set the record straight? Now let's move on, because, well, this is how you know it. This is how you... This paragraph over here is absolute confirmation about the astroturfing, if there wasn't enough evidence already. This is leading to the same kind of toxic positivity that ruined Hoyoverse games. Players trash-talking other games to convince themselves their game is better, instead of focusing on their game issues and trying to make it improve. Stop talking about Genshin! Talk about only your own game! Stop comparing waves! Even though I equally talk about all the issues in all the gacha games. Oh boy. And now, this is the cherry on top. This is where it all comes together with a neat little bow on top. By putting Woo-Wah on a pedestal like many other CCs, you only set it up to fall harder when people will inevitably start seeing the issues. I genuinely like Woo-Wah and cannot bear to see someone blindly defend it when it's absolutely in the wrong, pushing it to continue down this path that will inevitably ruin the game. clearly this person is very justified in the concern that they're expressing regarding Wuthering Waves and the Wuthering Waves community, and of course, the content on my channel. Bro is, without a doubt, absolutely spitting, is he not? We have utterly and completely dismantled every single point that this complete bum has brought to the table. Already addressed that. Already addressed that. Already addressed that. Already addressed that. Literally a non-issue that people that don't play the game are making up because there is currently a triple banner that is not relevant to 90% of the player base. And then, of course, we're calling 0.5% rotation, team damage rotation reduction that future-proofs a kit for the future and doesn't make new releases seem like they've been shadow nerfed. Dismantled. This one is just fake. It's literally not real. Any person that plays the Jian team will tell you your accuracy and your Qinglong cancels will have quadruple the amount of impact that this update to Mortefi did on your team's DPS. Yeah, doing one more Qinglong in your rotation is basically the same as like 50 Marcato attacks from Mortefi. And we're right here talking about missing 6 to 8 of them. 250% motion value. And they've decided to throw this much of a fit. That's going to be that for this one, ladies and gentlemen. I know that this, again, you might think that, oh, this was just a situation where Saint's just getting one guide. But I think that this really is indicative. It is representative of the general era of astroturfing that is so prevalent when it comes to Wuwa's haters. When it comes to people that are going to doom post about the game, that are going to create false narratives, all of that. This is the argumentation that they're going with. And so, of course, I wanted to make a bit of a PSA for my audience that there's a chance you could potentially believe the bullshit that gets spewed out from these communities, right, on a daily basis. And so it's just an awesome opportunity for me to set the record straight, show you that these guys are literally writing fan fiction live, and then we can move on from there. That'll be that for this one, ladies and gents. Let me know what you all thought about this expose and this breakdown. Peace.